All right, well, Aliyah Boston, thank you so much for making the long trek to WTHR here, downtown Indianapolis, going into year 3 for you here in the WNBA. Kind of crazy. Is that crazy?
It's kind of crazy to think how fast time is going. I was actually just saying that, like, I can't believe this is my 3rd year.
Did Aliyah in her most recent interview. Boston gently chastised her former coach while lauding new head coach Stephanie White. White's excellent communication abilities and tactical changes were the precise things that many criticized Christie's teams for during the previous season.
Okay, now we come out, we have to be ready to compete, but we also know that, listen, if things aren't going our way, then we have a coach at the helm who knows how to adjust.
Boston recollected playing White's Connecticut Sun team and explained how White's in-game modifications presented fresh difficulties that left the fans reeling. Now that White is guiding Indiana, Boston's enthusiasm is evident, and her remarks highlighted the potential impact of this coaching change for Caitlin Clark and the entire team. If you share your excitement, please leave a comment below with AB and CC. Let's
Off season for you. There's a lot going on with the team, a lot going on with the WNBA, women's sports in general. How was the off season for you?
Off season was great. I was able to participate on Rivals, so I was super excited about that, and kind of just looking at our team in general, all the changes we made. It has been a lot. It's been super fast, but I think they've all just been super exciting moves for us, and I'm excited to get the season started because I think we have so much talent.
When Aliyah Boston began discussing the Fever's off-season moves, her face instantly brightened. She wasn't just pleased, she was ecstatic about what the front office had accomplished. Her words were extremely exciting, and you could see the sincere excitement in her expression, something we didn't often see during the previous season's struggles.
Right there. It felt like there was 1 week, maybe a month, maybe more ago, that it was just like bang, bang, bang. Someone else new coming to the team via trade, via free agency. All really valuable pieces. Winning experience with those additions as well. What do you make of the newcomers on this team and how everyone will gel together after such a promising year last year for you guys?
When assessing what these new players offer to Indiana, Boston didn't hold back. The addition of seasoned players completely alters the dynamic of this youthful Fever roster. Last season, they mostly depended on young players like Caitlin Clark. They have acquired veterans who understand what it takes to win at the highest level, which Boston obviously cherishes after coming from a championship program at South Carolina, to help shoulder the weight night after night with Lexi Hull and Kelsey Mitchell.
I think when you look at who we've brought in and who is still here, I think what really helps us and excites us the most is that we win. We win a lot. Coming from winning programs just in general and being able to put this together, I think it's going to be super exciting. Like every time we get on the court and we're practicing or if we're playing pickup, we're like, I can't wait to get the season started. Like we are going to just play so.
What most surprised me was how Boston's language has completely changed. Last year, she was always discussing the team's chances of winning championships, but now she's concentrating on expectations. This is a small but significant change. Instead of hoping the Fever can win, she's expecting it to happen. This is a huge mental shift for a team that has been rebuilding for years.
To have so many different options on the floor, anyone coming off the bench, just being ready to be that heavy hitter and make an impact.
Yeah, deep team, right?
Yes.
Too, it feels like no lineup, there's no drive.
Boston specifically emphasized the offensive versatility the new roster offers, saying, "There are so many different options on the floor." She was obviously thrilled about what that means for a team that frequently appeared one-dimensional the previous season, when defenses locked in on Clark Boston or Mitchell the Fever, who struggled to find consistent scoring elsewhere. With the new additions, it appears that frustration is a thing of the past.
How excited are you for the Fever just this season and as far as your team is concerned, but just to carry that momentum forward as people continue to realize how high level women's basketball is, women's sports are, and just the excitement around this season and the WNBA?
The most startling aspect of Boston's interview was her use of the word dominant to characterize what the Fever can become. She never used that word last season, not even during their playoff run. It indicates a completely different mindset. They're not just trying to compete anymore. They're trying to dominate, and we want to win every night. Boston repeatedly stressed that the talk about development and growth is gone, and now it's just about winning, period. This reflects Boston's own evolution as a leader, no longer content with moral victories. Instead, she's demanding real results from herself and her teammates.
We're gonna ride the momentum. We're gonna ride the wave. I think there's no way you don't. You know, there's so much eyes, there's so much energy, there's so much attention. It's like every time you step on that floor, you want to play your best because you know there's so many people watching. And it's not just for you. It's for the little kids that continue to dream of being where you are and be like, oh my gosh, they're my favorite players. And the fans that continue to watch, it's like you want to continue to show them, like, listen, we come out here, we compete not just for ourselves, but for you guys because you guys pour so much attention, so much love on this Fever squad, and so we just have to be ready to compete.
As Boston was obviously thrilled about the new player additions, Dana Bonner echoed those sentiments in her own remarks, emphasizing how the team can now be a threat on every level of the court between Boston in the post-Clark's perimeter game and now multiple scoring threats across the roster. Opponent coaches will have nightmares trying to game plan against this Fever team. When she talked about the coaching change, her entire tone changed. Her comparison of Stephanie White to her previous coach gives you all the information you need to understand how the players feel about this improvement on the sidelines.
Also, part of the newness of this season, and it feels like it's kind of hitting a crescendo, right, as we are only a month away. But head coach Stephanie White, new to town, not really new to town, new maybe for you, but what has that relationship been like in kind of the Stephanie White regime here going forward?
What makes Boston's perspective so intriguing is that she faced White as an opponent when White coached the Connecticut Sun, giving her firsthand knowledge of what White brings to a team. When you listen to Aliyah Boston talk about Stephanie White, you immediately notice something different in her tone. There is genuine excitement that is completely different from how she discussed coaching last season.
It's been great. I think Steph has just done a great job ever since she got the job of just communicating. I remember within the first few weeks that she had the job, we were watching film about how she wanted me to be able to play, what she thinks of the team, what she wants our goal to be once the season starts, where we want to end. And I think for me that's super important because even though it feels like I've been in the league for quite some time, you know, this is only my third year, and being able to learn from a coach that you've been able to see, especially being able to play against her and seeing the way that she coaches, the way that she makes adjustments, is super exciting.
Boston kept complimenting White's communication abilities, which is noteworthy since we have a coach at the helm who knows how to adjust, right? Boston stated with obvious enthusiasm that communication was one of the biggest criticisms fans and analysts had about Christie's sides last season. Remember those timeouts where players looked confused about assignments, the late game situations where the team seemed to lack direction? Boston's focus on White's communication indicates that those issues won't persist.
About going against her in the probably most important series of your career, right, in the first round last season. What did you take away from going up against her? That maybe you're like, oh great, she's on my side now and we can use this to our advantage.
Yeah, when we played against Connecticut, Steph, her adjustments, the way she started off the game, I remember there were times where we were playing and I was like, did they mean to do this? And then you come back again the second possession and they really did mean to do that. And it's something that we didn't think about, and coming in, it's like, okay, whoa, now we have to adjust.
She notably recalls playing against White's Sun team and how White's in-game modifications caused the Fever to have serious issues when we faced Connecticut, suggesting that the tactical element is just as significant to Boston. Boston clarified that this is basketball player code since we were outcoached throughout those games, and I'm referring to Steph's changes in how she began the game. They still brought something fresh to the table.
For her, it's like we've already played you guys 3-4 times, now we're going to the playoffs, and they still bring something new to the table. So to be on that side, it's super exciting because I think, once again, we have so much talent on our squad. We're going to be going up against all these teams that in the offseason also made adjustments, also have just great, talented, flat-out hoopers. So it's like, okay, now we come out, we have to be ready to compete, but we also know that, listen, if things aren't going our way, then we have a coach at the helm who knows how to.
When talking about how White will help them adjust against other talented teams, Boston's body language completely changed. Her posture straightened, her gestures became more animated, and her voice became more confident. This is the kind of reaction you see from someone who thinks they have solved a persistent problem.
What was Steph's message just in her first team meeting?
Unity. I think that was the biggest thing. You know, we talked about it earlier, even in this, is the outside noise. And so for her, it's about sticking together, making sure that we are a tight unit, that nothing can poke holes in between what we have going, because that's one way to go down, and we don't want to.
By highlighting the importance of White's communication and tactical adjustments, Boston was able to pinpoint exactly what Coach Christie's teams were lacking in those games last season when the team was unable to find answers for defensive breakdowns or when the Fever failed to counter the opponent's defensive adjustments against Clark. Boston's remarks imply that she thinks White would have handled those circumstances differently for them, and that having White on their side now represents a significant competitive improvement. During the previous season, Boston frequently appeared frustrated when the team failed to make the required adjustments. Now, she views White's strategic mind as a strength rather than a challenge they must overcome as rivals.
Just by how we operate with each other off the court, how we are on the court, I think being able to be selfless is another thing that we talked about in the team meetings, like giving up a good shot for a great shot. And I think that's just super important because when you get in games, you never know when your number is going to be called to hit that big shot, and being able to trust each other to be able to do it is going to be important.
Because it relates to her championship mindset from South Carolina under Dawn Staley, Boston finds great resonance in this coaching move. Boston had great coaching that optimized player talents through tactical genius and clear communication. Boston's principles from her college days with these new players and now as a coach are reflected in White's WNBA championship experience. The days of the Fever being viewed as underdogs seem to be coming to an end, and Boston is more prepared for this new chapter than ever. It is evident that Boston believes in the Fever's identity, which appears to be changing before our eyes. Boston is no longer satisfied with being the young team with potential, but rather sees a squad ready to become legitimate contenders.
You mentioned there's so much talent on this team. There's so much excitement revolving around this. The new additions, the core, you, Caitlin, Kelsey, getting Kelsey back, that's obviously huge for this group. What is it, you kind of were the hunters last year. You were young, you were exciting, and really ended the season on a high note. Do you feel that transition, or is it too early to say that you're maybe the hunted at this point? Is there still a lot to prove with this group? What's the goal going in? What do you want to see, the expectations, everything like that, with all the talent that you keep?
When Aliyah Boston talks about the Fever's upcoming season during the offseason, she no longer talks about growth or potential. Instead, she talks about winning, period. This is a complete identity shift for a team that has spent years rebuilding, and Boston is aware of it.
I think our expectations to win. That is it, flat out. I think every single time we play, every time we step on the floor, people are going to want to beat the Fever. And I know last year it didn't start off that way for us, but as you said, halfway through the season, that switch was flipped. And it was like you didn't want to see us on your schedule. And I think we're going to take that momentum going.
That one sentence sums up the Fever's current self-perception completely. They are no longer content to compete. Instead, they expect to win. This is the mindset of a competitor, not an underdog.
Excited. I think having a fresh start in a sense has been really great for us. I think just being able to practice and work out the way that we have been, I think it really shows what we're capable of, and so I'm excited to get started.
The most intriguing aspect of this change is seeing Boston accept the target that goes along with it. Because of the improved roster and coaching staff, opponents will circle Indiana on their calendars this year instead of avoiding it when talking about the team's returning core. Last year, the Fever could sneak up on teams. Along with their recent recruits, Boston stressed the value of consistency. Kelsey, Caitlin, me, Lexi, and Dee Dee are all returning. Boston's Mitchell Hall with reinforcements on the way. Boston is seeing a full team come together. Last season, Clark and Dantas established the foundation that displayed moments of greatness.
I think it's going to be keeping this the main thing. For us, it's about winning, making sure that we continue to protect our locker room and don't let outside noise get in. And I think last year was a great start to that. And to be able to do it this year, I feel like we already know what's to come.
Future plans. Boston's awareness of the increased attention is especially noteworthy. She specifically mentioned the need to keep our locker room safe and not allow outside noise to enter. This shows that she understands that Caitlin Clark brings with her new expectations a level of attention the team hasn't had in years, and that juggling that attention with remaining focused on winning presents a new challenge.
By how we operate with each other off the court, how we are on the court, I think being able to be selfless is another thing that we talked about in the team meetings, like giving up a good shot for a great shot. And I think that's just super important because when you get in games, you never know when your number is going to be called to hit that big shot, and being able to trust each other to be able to do it is going to be.
Boston also emphasized how she personally adjusted to playing with Clark's uptempo style. In my opinion, getting to know and play with Caitlin was one of the biggest factors in that regard. Her readiness to modify her game demonstrates Boston's dedication to team success over personal comfort, which is precisely the mindset a team needs when going from rebuilder to contender.